Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Adventures in Celluloid. I'm Josh.
I'm Corey.
This is Lee.
And we have a guest here today with us that has never been with us before yet.
My name is Sedayn.
And so we're going to talk about...
Timothy Dalton! Yes!
We're going to talk about
Yes, Corey, yes.
a movie that Timothy Dalton is in.
Yes!
Not specifically about Timothy Dalton, but we're going to talk about a movie called The Rocketeer, released in 1991. This film was made on a $40 million budget, and the box office got $46.7 million. So it really only made like $6.7 million. But the thing is that
I made $6.7 million.
I know. I mean, I guess it's an okay turnout, I guess. But anyway, despite that amount of money that it made, it's actually a really great film. It has, who is it?
Timothy Dalton.
It has Timothy Dalton in it. Yep, Jennifer Connelly and Billy Campbell. Billy Campbell plays a guy who goes by the name of Cliff. Secord. That's how you. Yeah, Secord. Cliff Secord, and he flies racing planes. And
Is this based on something?
Nope.
Yeah, it is.
Well, kind of.
It's based on a comic book.
Oh yeah, it's. I'm
Dangus.
sorry. It's this film is based on a comic book, written by Dave Stevens, and this movie was directed by Joe Johnston. I was gonna say something about Joe Johnston, but I forgot.
I think Chris.
Oh, Joe. Yeah, Joe. No. The score was composed by James Horner, who also.
No, Chris also brought up the director while we were watching it. Chris has left the building. We were watching it with Chris.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah. James Horner composed the music to "A Beautiful Mind" and American Tale.
American Table.
American Table. Don't bump the table. James Horner is one of the greatest soundtrack composers of all time, next to, John Williams and Hans Zimmer and the like. And he has recently passed away, so moment of silence for James Horner. His music was awesome. So anyway, this film takes place in October of 1938. When Good year. What'd you do that year, Corey?
Well, this was long before Operation Wolf Star, but it was pretty interesting.
That was when Wizard of Oz came out.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, that's cool. So, okay, that's cool. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that wasn't a call for you to go silent.
No, I was just thinking about it for a second because I didn't know that. But anyway, reading off of the Wikipedia page as we always do here, the Rocketeer tells the story of the stunt pilot Cliff Secord, who discovers a rocket-powered jetpack that enables him to fly without an aircraft. It's basically like he's an astronaut on Earth, but not going into space. It's pretty cool, and his helmet's pretty awesome too.
Before you get too far, I just want to maybe this episode should be the first one that we don't drop a huge spoiler, because previous movies that we've done don't have huge spoilers unless you count Empire Strikes Back. Everyone knows that one.
Yeah, that's
true.
But
this one we shouldn't drop the huge spoiler. You know what I'm talking about? We can
Right.
still tell the basic story, but
Right.
it's kind of a big deal here.
Yeah, stop me if I accidentally spoil something.
Okay,
No,
you can just
sorry.
edit it out later,
Yeah.
But yeah,
For your
But yeah,
convenience, audience.
Just yeah. Previous movies haven't been too shocking, but this one's a bit. It's not really shocking, but it's a doozy. But anyway,
So,
sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. Cliff Secord.
I'm really sorry about interrupting you. I didn't mean to.
It's okay. So basically,
It happens sometimes. It's
no,
go on, Josh. Go on.
So basically, Cliff Secord and his airplane mechanic Peavy, played by Alan Arkin, Alan Arkin's the best.
Dude, but I just have to interrupt you again here, because I just gotta say this. I've been waiting to say it, but like the whole movie, I was watching it like Alan Arkin, and I was like, who is he reminding me of? And I was thinking like other actors and stuff, and I was like, no, I can't think of anyone. But then whenever he puts on a pair of glasses in the movie, I was like, oh, it's Dale. And my brother is probably listening to this. He's like, yeah, it was Dale. He probably hasn't seen the movie, but he probably looks up a picture of him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
But Dale was my boss over the summer.
Oh.
And and Alan Arkin looked a lot like Dale in this, and his characters kind of had the same personality as Dale, so it was
cool.
pretty awesome. So keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Don't interrupt me again. So anyway, Cliff Secord and PV find the mysterious rocket inside a biplane, which some bad guys planted in there and left it there for other bad guys to pick up. But they found it, so they were like, "Oh, this is cool." And so they clicked a button and it like started going haywire. And they were like, "Oh, is this some kind of like jetpack?" So then they took it home and they cut down a statue, and then they tied it up to the statue, and they tried to tether the statue to the ground, and then they lit it off, and it was going in circles, and then it flew off, and apparently it's a jetpack. And so that happened. And so, meanwhile, a famous actor, Neville?
Neville.
Neville Sinclair, played by Timothy Dalton, yes! Who is one of the James Bonds.
The James Bond,
Yeah.
thank you very much. We'll get more into that when we discuss Living Daylights and License to Kill in the future. But keep going.
He sends his, he learns about this rocket, or he knows about this rocket, and he's on the other side of the deal. You mean edit out that big spoiler at the end.
Yeah,
right?
you can mention the mob and stuff.
Okay, yeah. And basically, Timothy Dalton, or Neville Sinclair, is part of this big, mob, and they know about the jetpack, so they want to go and retrieve the jetpack, but it's gone. And he sends his goonies to go and try to find who took it.
His Goonies.
Hey, you guys! To go try to find it. And, they can't find it. So then they track down Cliff, and they find him, and basically, Neville Sinclair. So he sends his monstrous henchman, Lothar, played by Tiny Ron.
That was the guy's name?
His name was Lothar, and he looks like they put an extra face on him. That was not very well made. And
I have
so
some things to say.
they sent him to a hospital where an injured getaway driver who was hoarding the jetpack, and Lothar gets down to him and he goes, "Where is it?" He infiltrates the hospital first, and he gets into his room where he's all tied up because he's in casts and everything, and he kneels down next to him. He's like, "Where is it?" He's like, "Where's what? Rachel?" "Where's Rachel?" He's got, but he says, "Where is it?" And then he goes, I don't. What are you talking about? Where's what? He's like, "The rocket." And those are his only words in the whole movie besides growling. And despite that, those are some of his most memorable words. And so he kills him because he got the information out of him anyway. So he just decided to kill him. And so he gets the information, and he takes it back to Timothy Dalton, who I'm just going to refer to him ambiguously there now. And Timothy Dalton is Neville Sinclair because he plays his character so well. So they go search for the missing device, and, they go search for the device and it's missing. So Cliff's aspiring actress girlfriend, Jenny Blake, played by Jennifer Connelly, is on the set of Neville Sinclair's film. Cliff arrives. Sinclair overhears Cliff attempting to tell Jenny about the rocket pack and invites her to dinner at a popular nightclub.
This is
not that.
Oh, it's 1938.
It's a 1938
Yeah,
nightclub.
1938.
Yeah. So shortly afterward, PV. I'm gonna skip this part.
PV's the best. That's what PV's are doing.
So Cliff is riding around with this rocket, with this newly found rocket, and he becomes famous because nobody sees that. Like, oh hey, look, that's not Timothy Dalton. It's Superman. But I'm sorry, Corey, it's not Timothy Dalton in the rocket.
Yeah, it wasn't Timothy Dalton. I was about to say, I was like, no.
Yeah, but anyway, so he becomes famous, and Neville Sinclair sees him in the news and tries to track him down, and it all leads down to Cliff. And so when Sinclair figures out it's Cliff, and he also figures out that Jenny, who stars with him in a show, Neville finds out that Cliff has the rocket. So he figures that out and decides to kidnap Jenny in hopes that Cliff will come for Jenny. But he doesn't because he's a horrible boyfriend.
Yep.
Just kidding, he does. So he, as the Rocketeer, Cliff flies to the rendezvous when Sinclair demands the rocket, and Cliff
The rocket.
divulges the mobsters that... Oh, okay. This is where the spoiler comes.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. So he gets to the rendezvous where Neville Sinclair is with Jenny. He's holding Jenny hostage. So right here is where there's a spoiler, so I can't really go on.
Yeah, but we'll just say that Cliff saves the day. Because, if you got a guy named Cliff in a movie, he's going to save the day. I wrote a movie where a guy named Cliff saves the day.
Well, he's not going to leave you hanging.
Cliff Huxtable?
Cliff Huxtable doesn't save the day anymore. Yeah.
So pretty much the rest of the movie is just a fantastic action sequence.
Yeah.
And it's well worth a watch, I would say. So it's kind of hard to talk about this movie since there's such a huge spoiler at the end.
Yeah. There's still plenty to talk about. There's still plenty of substance.
Yeah. Like Timothy Dalton.
Yes.
So I guess we'll go around and say our favorite part, which my favorite is the spoiler.
Unless you really want to spoil it. Unless you really want to. But,
it'll be a short podcast.
You can make them watch it for themselves.
Yeah. So I guess we'll skip straight to the quality of it's worth a watch.
We can spoil it. We can go
I can't understand a word you're mouthing.
Very nicely put,
That
Corey.
was actually very impressively done.
Yeah. There, I just told them all the rest of the... See, the people who don't care, they can hear on that register.
I understand. Makes sense to me. All right. Well,
I mean, we can talk about it without talking about the spoiler, man. Because,
okay. Well, let's talk about the
Roger
acting.
Ebert can talk about movies without spoiling them.
Some of the trivia.
Some
trivia. Guess who was the lead of this was played by Billy Campbell. Guess who was originally in line to play the Rocketeer?
Do I know who...
Someone better?
Would I know who he is?
Yeah.
What other movies is he in?
Let's see. He's played in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Was it Johnny Depp?
Yep.
Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp was originally in line to play the main lead of this movie.
Huh.
Wow.
And it would have been real weird.
That would have been, so different.
I know. It was like... And this was filmed back in 1991. That was... When did Pirates of the Caribbean come out?
2003, I think.
2003. Okay, so...
This would have been before Scissorhands, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
right before it.
He would have been young.
He was a youngin. I mean, did you ever see the original Nightmare on Elm Street? He was in that.
He was?
Yeah.
Huh.
And that was like 84. He was a youngin.
Man.
I'm pretty sure it was Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm gonna check, make sure. But keep going. I'm just gonna.
Oh yeah, there you go. So that was originally going to be one of the main casting choices, was Johnny Depp.
Yes, it was Nightmare on Elm Street.
And the director actually also directed Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah.
And also
Jumanji. Just so fitting, Captain America.
I know.
My favorite shot in the movie where he's standing in front of the American flag.
You watch this movie and it's like a different version of Captain America.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a period piece too, just like the first Captain America.
Yeah.
Exactly. It all feels like it's in one time zone, and it's the two movies are so similar. It's so cool. The plots are similar, kind of, and every motive behind each character in each movie is very similar. It's really cool. He also directed Jumanji, which is also a World War II movie.
Yeah, kind of.
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not.
I haven't seen it. So.
Jumanji is a movie about a board game that ruins your life.
That's what I thought.
Just turned 20.
Yeah.
Robin Williams.
Also,
David Allen Greer.
It's a pretty crazy movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a demented board game.
We should talk about that sometime.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Yeah.
Because I need a reason to talk about David Allen Greer in a movie.
Yeah. So
You ever see any David Allen Greer movies?
No. What did he make?
Check him out sometime. Well, aside from Jumanji, he played Carl in Jumanji, the cop.
Oh,
Carl, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he does some plenty of other stuff, but he's a cool guy.
Carl, where's Carl? Carl, let's do it. So, let's see, man. I would read this trivia on Internet Movie Database, but a lot of it is like spoilers.
Yeah.
Like this movie is built in such a way where you can't tell any of the story unless you've seen the last 10 minutes of it. I mean, like you can watch all of it and there wouldn't be any story until the very last 10 minutes. Well, I guess there would be a little bit of story.
There's story. It's just the climax is all in that last like 15 to 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
but one of my
and it's like a huge climax. It adds this second layer to the story that you didn't think was possible beforehand. You're like, what? Wait, what? It's kind of like Captain America 2, if you've seen that.
Captain America 2 is basically a Metal Gear Solid 2 ripoff, to be quite honest.
Really?
Yeah, you need to play that game. I'm going to make you play the Metal
Captain
Gear
America
games.
2 was the best Marvel movie
it
so far.
It was good.
With Iron Man.
It was good, but it was very similar to Metal Gear Solid 2, and you'll see. I'll make you play that game at some point.
Okay.
You'll get it. We'll talk about that later. But anyway,
So
my favorite line from The Rocketeer though was it's near the end of the movie, but it's not going to spoil anything. That Timothy Dalton's character says, "I do my own stunts." Like, do you know what?
yeah.
I as soon as I heard it, I was like, ha! Because he's like the only James Bond that has done all of his own stunts. I mean, I don't think maybe not all of them, but most of them. Most of his own stunts in his 2 Bond films.
Yeah.
And this
says that
yeah.
here in the trivia.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Yeah. This was like right after his short Bond era. Very too short of a Bond era, But yeah, we'll talk more about that when we talk about Living Daylights and License to Kill. I'll have my Timothy Dalton rants, because I love Timothy Dalton.
Mm-hmm. So should we move on
He's
to...
got such a great voice, too. Just like, it's deep and resonant. I mean, and his variety of roles, though. I mean, he went from James Bond to this. You know what I'm talking about if you know the stuff. If you know about the movie.
Well, Rocketeer?
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays a villain in The Rocketeer. I'm not sure if that was clearly communicated, but he played a pretty big, like, nasty villain in this
He's
movie.
like a complete pivot from James Bond into... I mean, he's still got some of the smoothness of James Bond, but he's still...
Yeah, which all the more, like, exemplifies his really good acting. Like,
Yeah, he also plays a lot of Shakespearean roles. I mean, he's a Shakespearean actor. He's classically trained and stuff, and that's part of his whole reason why he's great.
Mm-hmm. Shakespeare, though.
Mm-hmm. Shakespeare will do stuff to you.
Shakespeare, though.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, should we move on
Billy
to...
Shakespeare.
Should we move on to content?
Billy Shakespeare.
Billy Shakespeare.
Our favorite parts. Let's see what our favorite parts
Oh, favorite parts. Well, my favorite part was the plot twist, which
yeah.
is those who we do not speak of, which is kind of hard to not talk about. But yeah, it's a spoiler.
Just watch the movie.
It's the main plot twist, and I can't give it away because it's too good.
Yeah.
How about you, Corey?
I do my own stunts line.
That's a beautiful
brilliant.
homage. Yeah.
It's brilliant. What about Sedayn?
I don't know. This is the first time I've seen this movie.
Same here.
I'd have to agree with Josh. Like, the plot twist takes everything.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite time era in history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like learning about World War II and the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
In that era is, oh my gosh, I can't talk about it.
Yes. That's something. But what about Lee? The Lee man. Lee Majors, no.
I don't know. The plot twist is a good part. Trying to think if there was one particular scene that stood out to me. I don't know. I found it rather funny that when the FBI shows up to Cliff's house where him and Peavy live, they just start lighting the place up with no idea of who or what's inside. They just shred their entire house.
That's true.
It reminds me the things to say about things. What was the big dude's name?
Tiny Jim or whatever. I forgot what he said.
The Frankenstein?
The Frankenstein's guy was named Lothar. Like the character was Lothar.
Let's use that to segue into quality. You know, that's really my biggest complaint about the movie is that he looked so plastic in a few parts.
Yeah, he did.
Plastic and rubber.
And
Yeah.
and like especially when the couple times he spoke or made noise, it didn't really match up with his face. He looked very stiff. I mean, I understand that it's probably some complicated makeup stuff, but it was,
His jaw barely even moved that much.
Especially like whenever he's later in the film, there's a shot where he's it's a close up and the lighting's around. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When he's climbing up something, and he looks like totally plastic there, and it's like, hey, you Michael Jackson or something now? It's like, what's going on here?
Like they tried to mix Andre the Giant and Christopher Lloyd together, and they failed. Mostly.
Yeah.
Big chin going on. But anyway, quality. Let's see. Yeah, that's probably my biggest complaint.
But I mean, it's 1991.
Yeah, it's
and,
1991.
there were some green screen flubs that they really couldn't surpass.
Yeah.
But
otherwise, I'd give this movie a 7.
A 7
out of 10. Maybe an 8. Maybe I'll give it an 8.
Yeah. Well, I gave it an 8 too. I
would have loved this if I saw it as a kid.
Yeah. I saw it as a kid. Man, it was a fantastic movie. It's like a Marvel movie, but it's not even related to Marvel. And the reason why is because it started out as a comic book.
Yeah.
And he was like this guy who flew around with a jetpack, and he was around the World War II time, and everybody sees him and he thinks of him as a hero. Oh, we got a hero and it's World War II. Yay, maybe he's a hero of World War II. Whatever. But so I thought great casting. Timothy Dalton.
Yes.
Timothy Dalton. The visuals were like half and half. Sometimes they were great, and sometimes they were not great. Like, there's parts where he's flying around and the green screen's like, whoa, that's definitely a green screen.
I feel like they could have done a sequel with this. Just a random thought.
It could have very well been a sequel. It would have been.
I'm sad that they didn't.
Like they replicate the jetpack.
Yeah, because he's got the blueprint. Well, the way he don't have the hand. He's got the blueprints in his brain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not really a spoiler.
No. But yeah, and I would love to play a Rocketeer video game, especially today.
Rocketeer. Like if they made a video game, I would definitely.
That'd make
play
a great video game today, wouldn't it, Lee?
Yeah, it'd be a very interesting twist considering that he was not shooting anybody.
Yeah.
Which in most games nowadays, you have a gun and you're shooting people at some point. But
it'd be just a video game of escaping. Like you just escape people the whole time. But anyway.
Fine, you don't want to die.
Yeah, and so Lilithar's face. Well, he's kind of likable in that way. You're like, he's ugly and he has 2 lines. I still like him because he's like that big thug that you're always like, oh, it's the big thug guy.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jaws in the James Bond movies.
Yeah, it's like
you know Jaws. You know you haven't seen. Bond?
Yeah. It's like the guy that you recognize, and you're like, it's that guy. But anyway, I give it an 8 out of 10. It's just well made, great storyline, great plot twist at the end. I definitely recommend going to go watch it.
Go see that. Do it.
How about you, Sedayn? What do you give it out of 10?
7.5.
That's fair. It's fair.
Why?
I do like the casting. I agree with Corey that guy was really weird. I don't know. I'm not good at critiquing things. This is really bad.
It's fine. I'm sure we've had worse on here, Lee.
hey.
What?
What?
Oh, I was just gonna ask you if we've had worse on here.
I'm surprised they didn't try to make the girl dumber.
Oh.
Oh, what is that? Is that a jetpack? Oh my gosh!
Takes
how
place
can you
in
talk
California.
about anything that's not me?
Oh yeah, and I read on the trivia page that originally in the comic book, I want to read the comic book now, but the girl was originally named Betty Page after the pinup model from the 50s, who the writer of the comic book was friends with, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
But she wouldn't allow her name to be used in the film, so they changed it to Jenny. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, Lee, moment of truth.
I'd probably give it an 8.
Yeah.
It was a decent movie.
I
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Aside from a few of the goofy special effects. And some poor makeup on the part of the large henchman.
I'd watch it again.
Yeah, it's just a fun Disney movie. I mean, like lots of action in it.
Mm-hmm.
Non-stop action in like the last half of the movie.
It's like 50 Tommy guns everywhere.
I know.
Everybody hops out of the car with a Tommy gun and starts just shooting everywhere.
It gets pretty intense. So, yeah, this movie is definitely a sit down and watch it. We definitely recommend it.
Yeah, but let's see.
We're talking about content. 'cause
Content.
I haven't done that.
Let's see. I'd say it's. What did you say?
14. I probably saw it when I was 13.
Going
12 or
way
13.
up there. I was gonna go lower than that.
12,
It
13.
really doesn't. Yeah,
There's a couple of parts of language in there.
just,
Yeah, there's a bit of language, and there's that one scene, which
I mean, I was watching James Bond
doesn't
when
really.
I was 7, so it's
I
not
mean, it insinuates a lot, but it doesn't really show anything.
like,
Yeah, it's PG and it's 1991 PG, so it's a pretty safe PG.
yeah, because PG-13 was around by then.
Yeah, but once again, there's a kind of a lot of words in there for a Disney movie.
Not a lot.
Well, I mean,
Not a lot.
Well, ratings back then were different than they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Footloose is an 84 and it's PG, but that's PG then, and nowadays
Yeah.
it'd be 13.
yeah,
I think PG-13 was introduced in like 85, 86.
yeah. Okay.
One of those two.
I would say for my children's 12 or 13 maybe.
I'd
11, 12 or 13.
I'd go down maybe 7 for.
So I'll go down maybe like way down here to 7.
Straight out. As soon as my kid is away from the hospital, he's gonna sit down and watch The Rocketeer. That's what he's gonna do.
It's a pretty safe movie. I mean,
I would say probably 9 or 10 is a good age.
yeah.
Well, Sedayn's the female here, so she's probably more mind. She probably has a mind that more caring about chillins than us. What would your age recommendation be?
I think it depends on the environment the kid has been around.
Yeah.
Like some kids nowadays, they'd be watching it like, oh, that's nothing. But like, if I was 10 and I watched this, I think it'd probably be the coolest thing ever. But I'd still have a lot of questions. So.
Why is that man with the jetpack? Is that jetpack?
Wow!
Don't you burn your legs on that? Seriously, how didn't he burn his legs on that thing?
I know. Okay,
'Cause
that's
it's a fictional.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Suspension of disbelief.
Let me
Hey,
point out a side
we
fact.
weren't picking apart Popeye for stuff that they did in there. So
Yeah.
They probably
But
had
I want to. Well, that's because it was a Disney magic movie.
this
It
was
full
a
of magic.
Disney magic movie
Less
too.
Disney magic than Popeye, where people turn into wheels and roll down stairs.
He didn't turn into a wheel.
Drill
He
through wood.
rolled
People
with his
drill through
body.
wood.
Well, Bluto, he's
Has an unrealistic voice played by another actor. Okay, unrealistic. Okay, I'll stop bashing it. But I mean, like, one scientific fact: when he's like, he gets on the back of a
Are
truck.
you one of those?
He gets on the
You
back
one
of a
of
truck,
those?
and bad guys are chasing them, and the car won't start. And so he's like, put it in neutral. And so Peavy puts the car in neutral, and Cliff is wearing the jetpack. He's like, okay, you steer, I'll drive. Or like, I'll push. No, you steer, I'll push. And so he gets in the back, and he pushes it with his jetpack. Science of the fact of the matter is, I think it would crush him.
Stop it.
But I'm just saying.
It
we
would
also
depend.
didn't have his helmet on either.
Suspension of disbelief.
Plus, his jetpack was pointing up, and he wasn't down like this, but you can't see that.
Suspension of disbelief.
This is why we call it sci-fi.
Yes.
You weren't
I
watching
know.
Star Wars and being all like, you can't hear sounds in space. It's unrealistic.
Well, how do they know? They have their space helmets on.
And you can't float robots with your lightsaber. And you can't do the other thing.
real.
And you can't do the other things. You can't make your robot float in the chair and make the little bears do things that you don't do.
You can't break an AT-AT with a plastic lightsaber. Reference to Operation Wolfstar.
That was an Operation Wolfstar.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You haven't seen Operation Wolfstar.
I need to see that.
I'll show it to you at some point.
Okay.
But anyway, so is that pretty much all we need to cover?
I think that's pretty much all we need to cover. I know this is a short podcast, folks, but
It's not our shortest.
it's not our shortest. I think Empire Strikes Back was our short. Well, not really. Actually, this might be our shortest. But anyway. Nevertheless, it's a fantastic movie. We just can't give away spoiler, which is probably the biggest, most fantastic part of the movie.
Mhm.
So basically, we definitely recommend going to go watch this movie. It's
watch
great.
it. But I've got my quote from the movie that I'm going to use to take us out of here. So until next time, remember that Timothy Dalton does his own stunts.